Hello everyone, welcome back to the Audit and Attestation class. This class of assessing risk and developing plan response to those assessed risk will be covering anti-fraud program and policy, and then after we'll be investing some time in doing some practice question. So let's dive into to do more in detail. Next is anti-fraud program and policy. Have you heard about this term before? Anti-fraud program and policy? Any idea what is anti-fraud program and policy?
It can be like any testing, sir, periodically by any people. Like a company will consult any company that why can't you try one anti-fraud program in our company by giving a chance to commit a fraud, whether people are committing or not. Yeah, as you said, there are three chances. No, sir. One is pressure. Next opportunity, next rational. I am thinking that actually I don't know, sir. It's my only guess.
How about others? Yeah, Ayush, Kashish, Kush, Jaspreet, Gurmeher, Sanchit. What's your best guess? Anti-fraud program and policies?
I mean, so looking at this, it sounds more like that there should be if there's a anti-fraud program or policy in the company that exists. And by anti-fraud program, they primarily mean like awareness sessions or any kind of controls that they have defined in order to stop fraud or creating awareness of how they can identify or detect fraud and how an auditor should evaluate and assess those programs and policies. That's what I understand.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. Like auditors should evaluate whether the entity program and controls that identify risk of material misstatement due to fraud have been suitably designed and placed in the operation. That means, yeah. So does the company have anti-fraud policy? That's the most important thing. Most of the company do not have. Right? If you do not have policy, what you will enforce to the team member? Does the company have like any training on anti-fraud policy and program which they timely communicate to the employees, like this is what you have to do and this is what are don'ts, right? So those structuring and those policies, procedure, timely communication, like how we communicate code of conduct, code of ethics, same way anti-bribery policy, anti-fraud policy, those also need to be timely communicated to the team members, and there should be an appropriate control to ensure that it has been timely communicated with a reasonable frequency to the team members, so that team members should not commit any fraud. Once they understand the repercussion of the fraud, then hopefully the chances are high they will not commit the fraud, right? Next is
one small doubt, sir. Please clarify whether this is anti-fraud program or not. Company was with an intention that they want to try by giving an opportunity of fraud, whether the employees will commit or not.
No,
so they hired one person.
No legitimate company will do this exercise. It's unethical practice.
No, sir. They will try to woo the people if they commit.
No, that's an unethical practice in the eye of law. So no legitimate company will do. Maybe like Lala company can do, but not any MNC.
No such experiments can be done.
Sorry?
No such experiments can be done in a company, sir.
No, that's like wrongful act in the eye of law from the company side.
Eye of law means what?
In the eye of law.
Okay, eye of law. Okay.
In the eye of law, it's a wrongful act from the company side.
Okay, sir.
Right? Missing or inadequate anti-fraud program or controls may constitute a significant deficiency or material weakness. Examples are like anti-fraud policy, anti-bribery policy, supplier code of conduct, supplier code of ethics, internal audit process. So these are certain examples. So far we have done with internal control, control environment, and entity level control. So let's do some practice question. What would an auditor most likely do in order to obtain an understanding of manufacturing entity internal control concerning inventory balance. So as a CPA, what all things you will be doing to gain more understanding about the internal control relating to inventory balance. First one is analyze the liquidity and turnover ratio of the inventory. Second is perform test count of inventory during the entity physical count. Third is review of entity description of inventory policies and procedure. Fourth is perform analytical procedure designed to identify cost variance. What you will do to gain an understanding over the inventory balance, basically.
Option C, because the first one is not going to give any understanding on internal control. That's more on understanding the ratios of inventory to
it's more of analytical procedure.
Analytical procedure. Same with the last step, because that's also analytical procedures. And the second one is more of testing, wherein we are performing the cycle counts and test counts.
Yes. So analytical and testing procedure you will perform at execution stage.
Execution.
Right. Here the question is understanding stage. That means planning stage. Right. What you will be considered as a right one at the planning stage? Review of the policy and procedure. Right. Make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next question of the day. An auditor most likely would consider which of the following factor in evaluating the controlled environment for an audit client. So when you are evaluating the controlled environment, which one is most likely you will consider? The ethical value demonstrated by the management, monthly bank reconciliation with supervisor sign-off, organization structure used for tax purpose, number of employees in each department. Which one most likely you will consider to evaluate the control environment?
Sir, why I go with the A? Because, sir, first, before acceptance only, we will consider the integrity of the management.
Yeah.
And further, when we know that it is much very good with integrity, we can know that yes, they will maintain the controls properly. Because further, why the remaining options are not answered? Because monthly bank it is totally automated procedure.
Sir, the other options are control activities. The first one is control environment.
Yes.
So
the second and third are so second and third are control activities, and the fourth one is activities only, and then first one I think
number of employees not at all relevant, sir.
So number of employees is an activity you can take it as. Yes.
It's not even an activity, it's just an information.
Okay. And sir, in terms of ethical value demonstrated by management, like as you stated an example of state board meetings which are conducted on a quarterly basis. So ethical values are conducted on a regular basis. So keep an eye on or keep a tab on that. We will ethical values are going to be demonstrated by the management.
Yeah.
So I think in the control environment we will do this.
Yes, absolutely true. So objective
the ethical values are important because there are chances that they can override the manual process as well. Like if there is a supervisor sign off, so that can be overridden if they are not ethic. And also, like number of employees is something which is for the payroll department, and third, organization structure used for tax purpose. It's specific to a tax purpose basically, and we are here discussing about the overall control environment.
Absolutely.
So other three are basically specific to one or two procedures, whereas ethical value is at broader level.
Yeah, yes, absolutely true. Like understanding a question, and more importantly, what is right and what is not right, and why we are saying this is not right. Understanding of that is also very important in articulation when you sit for the exam. Very good, very good. Really impressed with your articulation today. So now you are into audit. So now you're understanding like audit gamut. That's very good to know. Third one is the element which should not be considered by the auditor in evaluating the entity control environment is. Which element you should not consider for evaluating the controlled environment? First one is participation of those charged with governance. Second is communication and enforcement of integrity and ethic value. Third is measurement and review of the entity financial performance. Fourth is assignment of authority and responsibility. Which one is not part of your control environment testing, basically? So here, important thing is to know is this not. People get confused. Why you guys are so silent?
वो बहुत आंसर इतना ऑब्वियस लग रहा है, बस उसको एक्सप्लेन करने का मन था नहीं।
I don't know why the answer, but
क्योंकि उसमें बाकी जितने भी ऑप्शंस हैं उसके अंदर the thing is कि everything they element which should not be considered.
Sir, I think option 1, 2, and 4 are more on again control
very clear,
environment.
sir. They should be
overall,
considered.
Like I'm not
Yes.
able to explain even.
It's so simple. I'm not able to.
No, sir. It's very clear that so we should consider 1, 2, and 4.
Got it.
The third one is mostly of KPI basically.
KPI.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sanchit, yeah, kudos. Okay, so let's see how good is this ITS. Small one. Shall we finish this?
This is big, sir.
Oh.
It's just four pages only.
Sir, this is big.
नहीं सर कल
हाँ?
कर मतलब next
ऐसे इसमें तो SAP Oracle NetSuite भी लिखा हुआ है.
Okay. What do you want? Like, shall we do some practice in?
Yes, I think sir, we
software?
should do some
Okay, sir.
questions.
Yes, sir.
Agree.
Let's do
यहाँ
some
तो आंसर
practice.
दिया होता है ना सर, तो रैशनल बना लेते हैं.
Let's do some practice in software. So 1 second. Okay. Let's get into software. Okay, so we are in second chapter. So let's do some practice question here. Okay, which of the following factor is most likely to affect the extent of documentation of auditor understanding of the client system of internal control? So which one out of these four will affect the documentation of internal control? The degree to which the auditor intend to use the internal audit personnel to perform substantive testing, the degree to which information technology is used in accounting function, the relationship between management, board of director, and external stakeholder, industry, and the business and regulation environment in which client operate. Which one of the following?
I think option 2, sir.
2, why?
Sir, because that kind of impacts our overall audit. So that's a key thing for us to understand how IT and account, like finance, is interacting, and that might have an impact on that.
How about others? What is the call of the question?
Or then maybe option C.
What is the call of the question? I'm saying.
Because I think the question is asking about internal controls, then option.
internal controls, right?
Documentation for
How do we
Like what can
document the
impact the auditor's understanding of internal
Yes.
controls?
to understand the internal controls. Yes.
Yes.
So does everyone agree to second?
नहीं, then
सही तो है.
बच गए. हाँ, ठीक है.
Cool. Okay. So preventive controls are, what is preventive control? I think we discussed in detail today. Found only in accounting transaction control, found only in general accounting control, usually more cost beneficial than deductive control, usually more difficult to implement than deductive control.
जो पढ़ा उनमें से कोई ऑप्शन नहीं आया.
I think it should be the third option.
Third option?
Even I go with third option.
I don't think it's cost beneficial compared to deductive controls.
Cost का तो हो
Because you'll have to implement systems, you'll have to implement all those IT environments. I don't think it's cost beneficial. I might feel it might be the last one. Or
usually more difficult to implement. Why?
I'm just thinking.
You just need to check the box and it's done. Why you feel it's costly? Why you feel it's in journal accounting or transaction control?
फिर जब सब सी कह रहे तो वही होगा.
हाँ, Kashish?
क्योंकि first, second जो है found in only accounting transaction control.
The preventive controls are not for any particular area, sir. It can be for any area.
Basis. Or it can be for any area.
Also, it doesn't relate to cost as well.
So,
cost effectiveness.
Kashish, what do you want to give answer? Kashish, what is the best answer from your side?
The fourth one.
Fourth one? Difficult to implement? Okay. Sandeep, what's your answer?
I go with C, sir, because first and second option, why not? Because it can be implemented at any place, not only general or transaction. And to my knowledge, it is very cost beneficial than deductive. So let us see what will happen. The answer.
Okay, Sanchit, Jaspreet, Gurmihar, you guys are not responding.
Sir, I just joined back. I was away due to some reason.
Which
Sorry.
one?
Let me see the question first.
Garvit, Rahul, you guys are also not responding.
Yes, I think, sir, it will be third one.
Third one? Shall
Yes, sir, third. I'll go with third as well.
Okay, let's see. That's a perfect answer, right? So, like costly affair, it depends. There might be one of the case, but in generally, like they are not so costly because once you have infrastructure, it's just clicking a button to implement that.
Oh.
Which of the following audit technique ordinarily would provide an auditor the least assurance about operating effectiveness of internal control? So which one does not provide much comfort on the operating effectiveness of internal control? Preparation of the system flow chart, observation of client personnel, inspection of document and report, inquiry of client personnel. So which one provide least assurance?
I suppose preparation of system flow charts.
Preparation of system flow chart. Why not observation, inspection, and inquiry?
No, because all those are part of evaluating the operating effectiveness of internal control. If we are evaluating the operating effectiveness, we will obviously observe how internal controls are being implemented in a particular field of finance, and then we'll observe how the personnel who are involved in that process are, behaving and implementing them. And maybe we need to understand the process to understand the internal controls, and we need to inspect the documents and reports for the same. And then we can obviously, the client who is sitting there, we can inquire them about and ask them certain questions to understand the process of internal control. So I suppose all those activities need to be done to, get an understanding of operating effectiveness. But creation of system flow charts, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem right because.
How about others?
Yeah.
Sir, I agree with the first option, sir.
First option?
Yes, sir.
Why?
Sir,
So I think the second, third, and fourth are, what I'm thinking, second, third, and fourth are for, we will do on examination, and for the examination, it will be reasonable assurance will be there. And the first one that, not have confidence on first one, so that's why.
So I think second, third, fourth is clear because inquiry, inspection, and observation are the mode how we check the operating effectiveness of the control. And then preparation of system flowchart is just an activity that happens. So I think that's why I would go with option one.
Okay, so most of you are with one. That's perfectly right. And the explanation you have shared, Kosh, is absolutely pointed. Very good. Next one. In the integrated audit of an issuer, keep in mind integrated audit of an issuer, which of the following would not be considered as ELC, not an ELC? Control over management override, control over the period and financial reporting process, policy that address significant business control and risk management practice, the outside auditor's assessment process of internal auditor competency and objectivity. Which one is not an ELC?
So we have those 10-12 points now. We will have to see. We've just gone through it. We don't know that.
Maybe sir, option D.
Even I go with option D, sir.
Option D. I also go with option D, sir.
The odd one out.
Can anyone tell me why?
The issuer is
So
not
this is
concerned about that process, sir. He was
So
concerned
this
about
is-
his policies and his controls.
right,
How
and this
auditor
is more
assesses is
an
not his
auditor
concern.
execution. Exactly. It's
One
an
by
auditor
one,
assessment and not a management.
let Sandeep finish, and then Kush, you can jump in. Yeah, Sandeep, go ahead.
The issuer or the client is not concerned about the how auditor assesses his internal auditor. He will be concerned about his controls over his organization.
Okay, cool.
So I think
Kashish, what you're saying?
The control over management over it's a part of ELC, and control over period and it is also a part of ELC. So I'm confused between third and fourth, sir.
Policy that address significant business control and risk management practice. So is
So
it part
in
of?
third option, it's clearly stating management practices. So in that way, it becomes an ELC. But fourth one is an odd one out. So that's why the fourth one is correct.
Fourth one is an auditor's assessment, not a control implemented by the entity. So the first three are primarily talking about the controls over management override, controls over period in financial reporting, and then significant business and control management risk management practices. So those are policies and controls that the management has implemented. But the last one is more of how an outside auditor or a third-party auditor is assessing their internal auditor competence and objectivity. So this is not in ELC.
Kashish, have you got answer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Okay, let's see what exactly is right. Absolutely right. Good, really good auditors in class. Huh? An auditor who use a transaction cycle approach to assess control risk most likely would test control activity related to transaction involving the sale of good to the customer with the purchase of merchandise inventory, payment of account payable, collection of receivables, sale of long-term debt. An auditor who used transaction cycle approach to assess control risk most likely would test control activity related to the transaction involving sale of good to the customer with. Have you understand the question? What is the call of the question?
Collection of receivable would be the correct answer, I think.
What is actually the call of the question?
So basically, this is a part of R2R process, no, revenue to receivable. So that's why. So basically, it's asking that which one is related to the sale of goods process. So in that chain, which will be impacted. So I believe the third one is related to that process, sale of goods.
Why not other three?
So first one is related to inventory process. Second one is related to P2P. And the fourth one is also not related to R2R process. That's why I believe
Fourth one is related to
sale of long-term debt.
Like debentures.
Yeah.
Equity or something.
Debt.
Debt
No,
process.
debentures, yes. Right. Kashish, Rahul. Everyone agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's see. Oh, wow, that's awesome. So we got 100%. I'm sure you got some good confidence, huh? Right. So I think we are good for today.